Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you a brand new Fire Emblem Heroes video. In today's video, as you can no doubt tell by the title, we're going to focus on something completely different, hypothetical, theoretical, whatever you want to call it, something just for fun. I'd say it's a good contrast to maybe some of the more recent videos. So yeah, we're going to take a look at Mythics, but in a different way than you're used to, that's for sure, and how the game could have been different if some of these guys got different roles. Okay, so with that being said, sit back and enjoy the video. Alright guys, so if you're looking at this right now below me and you haven't noticed something strange, well, you will in a moment. And that is literally our Mythic hero lineup as of February 2021. But how they would be if they were the opposite blessing. So in a way, how would these characters and these heroes, how would they be different in their respective seasons if they were the opposite blessing? So honestly, like, all the fairies are still the best they could be, whether they're on defense or offense. Dancers are huge and you need them in both offense and defense. That's what I'm saying. I'm not really going to cover them really with builds because honestly it's almost the same. But some characters would be ridiculously good if they were offense mythics or vice versa. So I'm going to get this started with more of a tame option, which will be Seiros, who got released recently. Now, we already have offense mythic carries in the form of Altina and Freyja, technically in Astra and Light. So Astra and Light, you know, we already kind of know how they function. And honestly, Altina and Freyja can both be good units when used when they were Astra or Light Mythic carries, but they require a certain amount of support. Now, if you flip things upside down and you make a Astra Seiros, she can be a decent carry by having, she pretty much has like a kit made for this, and all you do is give her like distant counter with quick riposte, and she's pretty solid on both phases because of her negating follow-ups effect in her weapon, and on player phase she has an auto double, so that's kind of cool. You kind of just need QR to round this out. Some good support options would be like New Year's Valoria, just so you could use noontime on every single hit. As an example, that dragon situation seems a little bit skeptical, but it's basically a carry. It's a carry unit, carry mythic, can't benefit from blessings. The beautiful part of something like Seiros, if she was an Astra mythic, and you were to reverse the mythic situations, Thrasir becomes an Astra mythic, and therefore that big dragon weakness that currently, like, let's say Naga has, or any dragon carry has, ceases to exist. Literally ceases to exist, because what happens here is you don't have your effective green dragon counter, so someone like Seiros becomes a decent contender for a carry. Should still be like middle of the pack, because I'm not totally convinced on carries roles. They really need a lot of support, but hey, you could always benefit from like ward dragons and gold dragons and such. But with that being said, of course, naturally I'm gonna mention Sothis, right? Because Sothis is also, if she were flipped, honestly would be much better as a carry than she would be as a defense mythic, because she actually doesn't count as a dragon because of her weapon. Her preference special is a healing special, and it's also really good. Now, Time's Pulse would be needed on her if she wasn't running with a special accelerator like NY Valoria, for example. And the beauty is this encounter weapon means you can run like a stance 3 in the A skill with null follow-up, synergizing with her great speed stat. She actually becomes a solid option. And as always, if you flip the blessings around, then Freyja is on defense, so red beats green, solid option, can benefit from ward and go dragons. It's kind of just cool to talk about this because a lot of these mythics all of a sudden become like way better. Now I'm gonna stop it just for a moment. I didn't cover Duma in this video because I don't think it really needs a build. Everyone knows what upheaval is, but can you imagine Duma on offense with upheaval? Okay, you could put him in any lane you want, have a flat 7 damage, that synergy with someone like Kronia, and you snipe any problem building you want. So all of a sudden, Kronia with Duma are just like amazing synergy. Not that I really would encourage Like Crony is not exactly super meta right now, but realistically it'd just be cool if you could have someone who sniped buildings like Duma, for example. That's why I have him so highly ranked as an Astra Mythic, because he's already kind of decent on defense, but on offense, that ability to pick any building you want on your enemy team and smash it +7 damage is awesome. All right, moving on though. I want to mention Reginn on defense, and if you look at her build, it's basically unchanged, because if I'm going to be honest with you, Reginn is a melee cav with Canto, and Canto AI isn't bad. Canto AI actually retreats if possible, so in a way, this actually becomes very difficult to play into if she's able to land any hits. In a way, all you do is like change her A skill into an ARD skill, you keep her base kit because it's already something that's really good on defense, and she has that crazy special acceleration on a cav to nuke something with adaptive damage. I don't want to see the equivalent of Reginn on AR defense, but we may likely see that with the other OC characters that are kind of in the story right now. So that's like the potential of what's to come, and it is kind of scary to think about. And of course, finally, I do want to mention Freyja on defense. Now Freyja is another character that I'm thankful is actually an offense mythic as opposed to a defense mythic. We don't actually have any cav defense mythics, and I think this is on purpose. If you actually consider the original like mythics, they were all flyers, which were tame. They didn't have Rhine skills, they didn't have lull skills, they didn't really have much like crazy mobility. The only advantage they had is like flying over lakes or trees and such, trenches. And the thing is, Cavs on defense have always been good from the start of AR's meta to even now. So I think they're saving the Cav AR defense mythics for later down the road, including potentially a dancer or just something really oppressive like imagine Freyja or Reginn on defense, okay? And that could also come with the Canto effect, which again makes it harder to play into. Freyja is an interesting option because she's like, you can't buff. If you buff, you make me stronger in the form of Binding Necklace. She becomes really thick, and she's super fast, really good offensive stat spread. Her Nightmare Horn is distant counter and speed reduction built in. All of a sudden, this is like literally a nightmare unit to play into if it was on defense. Thankfully, it's an offense mythic in the real game, and that makes things tame because she's not as good on offense as she is on defense. Like defense, it's harder to deal with, but on offense, we don't see it, and I'm thankful for that. A lot of the other characters, a lot of mythics in this video, which is of course going to be a little short and sweet, don't really have this like oppressiveness. Like the fairies are all would be best regardless of whether they're offense or defense mythics, and then you pretty much have calves or extremely good utility in the form of Duma's Upheaval. The reason someone like Naga ends up being like middle of the pack is because of Divine Fang, the same reason that on offense she's decent. And then other like strange characters like Brammy, Hell, and Thrasier end up just being like PvE units or just having a very specific gimmick. Like in the form of Hell, you have like immunity to death, right? That could be really good against some teams who maybe don't have a lot of magic presence, or you could snipe a magic unit and all of a sudden Hell becomes a great carry. So yeah, I mean, that's basically all I'm going to say about this reversal meta, which will never likely happen. But hey, you never know. Maybe in the next huge AR update, all of a sudden you might be able to use your defense mythics in offense or your offense mythics in defense. And if that were to ever happen in a future update, that would be really cool and a complete shift to the whole AR meta. That would be a really one flip switch into making things completely different. And if that were to ever happen, then some of you who've invested really hard into some of these mythics could really benefit from something like that. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below what yeah, maybe you've played with some of these mythics on defense. Honestly, before I had a defense mythic, I used to run Naga on defense before I had an Anima defense mythic. So they aren't actually too bad on defense. The thing is you lose too much lift when you lose, and that's why you don't see them there. But if you know, for some people, this is actually applicable. You could literally, if you don't have a defense mythic, put some of these on defense, create a light kind of defense using like Freyja and Peony, and all of a sudden that's scary and difficult to play into. Could even be really good. Alright guys, that's all from me. Leave the video a thumbs up, it helps the channel as always. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Much love. Peace.